Hi everyone, my name is Emily Myers and I'm really excited to get to talk to you today, through this video at least, about my time at Purdue and what my career path has been like since I graduated. So I thought I'd start with just a little bit about myself. I graduated in 2018 and my major was in ecology, environmental, and evolutionary biology. My minors were in wildlife science and global studies. I still live in Indiana. I'm an Indiana native. Right now I live in Indianapolis. So when I first graduated, I didn't really have a set goal in mind, but I love animals, they're my passion. So I actually started with an internship over at the Cincinnati Zoo. I was in their environmental and conservation education team. So we got to handle animals like snakes and turtles and tortoises and talk to guests about them, which was really cool. I did end up moving back home to Indiana after about 6 months with the Cincinnati Zoo, and kind of searched around for jobs for a little bit until I wound up working for the state. I worked for the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, which is also known as IDEM. So with them, I worked in the Office of Water Quality, which handles a huge variety of things, anywhere from wastewater to stormwater, which is what I was doing. I was a stormwater specialist, which is kind of an odd title, but basically I went around to different job sites in Indiana that were doing construction work or industrial work and monitored their compliance with state laws regarding their stormwater. So basically any water, rainwater, or polluted water that was coming off of their site going into either storm drains or into water bodies like streams and lakes, monitored compliance. So often I would walk around with the safety director or environmental director for the site, whether it was an industrial facility like a warehouse or a processing plant or a construction site. So when I wasn't doing site inspections outdoors, I was reviewing what are called stormwater pollution prevention plans. So if you can envision a full plan set for a construction site, within there's 4 or 5 pages where builders and designers have to come up with a plan as to how they're going to prevent water pollution in regards to their runoffs. I took what I learned from that job as an inspector and transitioned into the private sector. So currently I work for a home building company called D.R. Horton. They are a nationwide corporate company. I'm here in the Indianapolis division, and I also cover Fort Wayne and Louisville. So there's a good deal of driving involved, but I like to travel around, so fits what I wanted. So for them, I do similar to what I did at the state. I work as a regulatory compliance administrator, which is a long title for basically just saying I keep their environmental and safety programs in check. So my day-to-day life with D.R. Horton includes a good mix of field and office work. So one of my roles is to maintain all environmental permitting, record keeping, things like that, from stormwater side, wetlands side, anything that fits the environmental realm. The other half of my duties involve safety. So for our Indianapolis division, Fort Wayne and Louisville, I cover safety programs. So any record keeping that comes from that, making sure all of our on-site trades are safe and things like that. So it's a good deal of driving around to all of our ongoing building projects, checking things out from, again, both the environmental and safety sides, and a lot of face-to-face interaction with all of our team partners. What I like about it is that it's pretty independent, and there is a good balance of field and office time. That was both with my job at IDEM in the public sector and at my current job in the private sector. I do enjoy having a close-knit group of supporters behind me in any job that I have, and I've definitely had that in both roles. At IDEM and at D.R. Horton, having that good support team really means a lot. Some things I dislike are kind of being on call. So especially as a safety administrator, if something goes wrong and, I'm on call and need to respond to that. So sometimes that can just add a little bit more stress, but generally it doesn't cause a huge issue. Some days are really busy and some are slower. Just kind of depends what's going on, but there is a balance of working the normal 9 to 5 so-called and then still being kind of on call. So I want to transition now to my time at Purdue and hopefully impart some advice that might change any of your paths forward or, get you thinking about something different. I mentioned earlier that I do like to travel around, so I really took advantage of Purdue study abroad programs when I was there. I spent about half a summer in Australia traveling around studying wildlife and conservation over there and made some lifelong friends, people that I still see all the time. So I really, value the relationships that I gained from that as well as seeing some beautiful places. And then the next year I had the opportunity to go to Tanzania to do some education work there. So while I was at Purdue, I kind of had a convergent path a little bit with biology education. There were, I believe, 3 semesters I took classes leading towards becoming a teacher. I thought that might be a path I wanted to go down, and I'm really grateful I took all those classes. I've used a lot of information that I gleaned from those in my current jobs, even though I'm not a traditional teacher. I really enjoy informal education. I am glad I took the classes even though I didn't become a teacher, but again, studied abroad in Tanzania, teaching kind of a mix of biology and chemistry to some students there, and got to experience a safari. So I went to Tanzania for a month, and then through my research lab, I actually did some research down in Panama. So really credit Purdue study abroad programs and research programs to give me those opportunities. Some of my favorite memories from my time there when I studied abroad, and made those great relationships. So other than that, and your basic biology classes, you'll learn a lot from those. I can't stress enough how important making contacts with people who you think you might not ever see again. Someone you sit next to in class, you might have classes with them forever, and then you never know, you might end up going into the same field or company or whatever as them. So just make little connections wherever you can, whether it's through group project, sitting next to someone, you go to the same club meeting as someone. Just keep those connections alive because there are still plenty of people I message and just see how they're doing even though we haven't talked for a couple years now. Additional advice I could give you is just to be open and flexible. Like I mentioned, my path took a couple different turns here and there even though I stayed mostly on the same course, but just be open to change and enjoy the ride while you're on it, because I look back now, I've only really been graduated for a little over 3 years now, but I definitely miss the experience I had at Purdue and the special bond that I had with everyone there. There are Boilermakers everywhere. I've met so many people in my current job that love to talk about Purdue still, even though they've been graduated for 30 years or more, and just never forget the impact of being a Purdue Boilermaker really goes a long way. So moving forward, someone who has followed a path similar to mine could potentially go on to become a consultant, could go back to the public sector as a supervisor, having gained more experience in the private side of things and kind of seeing how things are done from the bottom up instead of just that regulatory perspective. Or, you could go a whole different way. Like I mentioned before, my passion is teaching people about animals and interacting with animals, and I could definitely, see myself on a path working at a, state or a local park as an educator, and really the door's wide open with this biology program. No matter which way you go with it, you're sure to have opportunities lined up, even things that you might not see coming in the future. I wish you all the best of luck, and of course, if anyone would like more information about what I've done or would like to chat more, I'm sure the Purdue Biology Advising Team could set you up with my info. So thank you all, and boiler up.